Mining is the reason Telluride exists. It formed the basis of the region's economy for over 100 years. Everything revolved around mining.
The Smuggler Union Mill, more commonly known as the Pandora Mill, was built in 1921 and was the third mill built in this location, which also contained a cyanide plant that burned in 1920. Located about 1.5 miles east of Telluride, the mill is surrounded by dramatic cliffs and towering 13,000-foot peaks.
The Smuggler Union Mine was the largest in the Telluride region and one of the most important in Colorado in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. With consolidation of mines, the Smuggler Union Mill remained the center of milling activity, thus representing the mining history of the entire Telluride region. The mill remains one of the most significant mining structures in the region, eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places, and complementary to the Telluride Historic Landmark District.
The mine and mill played an important role in Telluride history, from the staking of the original mining claim in 1876 through the gold and silver boom, as well as the 1901 through 04 labor strikes. Smuggler Union closed in 1928, but reopened in 1936. Because it also produced lead and zinc, it was one of the few gold mines in the country allowed to stay open during World War II.
Idarado Mining Company purchased the Smuggler Union and most other mines in the region in 1953. Idarado retrofitted the mill in 1955, tripling its capacity to 1,800 tons per day, enabling San Miguel County to become Colorado's leading county in the production of gold, silver, lead, and copper.
Telluride's historic significance is not limited to the buildings in town within the historic district. It is defined by the mining activity the Smuggler Union Idarado Mill represents. While some mining sites remain, none can convey the significance of the region's mining history as well as this mill. Preservation of the mill illustrates the mining history of Telluride in a tangible and understandable way, better than any collection of photos, artifacts, or exhibits ever could. This is critical to both residents and visitors, especially in times of growth and changing populations. With the mill standing, the historic significance of the region's mining is undeniable and supports the historic preservation so ingrained in the region's identity.
The Idarado Mining Company has been actively involved in preserving the mining history of the region. However, an environmental remediation plan for the building identified a number of conditions that need mitigation. Idarado commissioned an historic American engineering record report in 2004 in anticipation of demolition and the necessary mitigation of potential hazards on the site. It has completed a series of actions to address these conditions. The mitigation done so far has removed and disposed of asbestos materials in the insulating panels in the roof, identified in a 2012 site investigation.
The majority of work was completed during the winter of 2013-2014. However, it was determined that the roof insulation continued beyond the building envelope into the roof eaves. Due to snow cover, it was determined that the safest way for workers to access the eaves would be during the summer when the snow was gone. Additional exterior work will be completed by the end of the summer of 2014.
According to Idarado, the mitigation is necessary to remove and properly dispose of all asbestos-containing material, regardless of the disposition of the mill. The current permit for the site, issued by the Colorado Division of Reclamation, Mining, and Safety, calls for demolition of the mill and return of the land to a pre-mining use. Newmont is working with local county officials and other private parties to explore future disposition alternatives for the mill. However, any alternatives to demolition would require regulatory approval. Evaluation of alternatives is an ongoing process, and no final decision has been reached by Idarado Newmont. Abatement of asbestos-containing materials was the first step toward any alternative.
According to the company, if an alternative to demolition doesn't mature, it is likely that demolition will be scheduled for the summer of 2015. County regulations do not prohibit demolition of a structure like this, and a permit was issued to allow Newmont to take the mill down.
There are other possible futures for the mill building if the community shows interest. San Miguel County Commissioners are willing to consider hiring engineers to determine if preservation is possible. This would determine whether stabilization is possible. Costing close to $30,000, this report would examine the building to determine what is needed to keep the building intact, make it safe, and potentially usable for another use.
Funding for this report would come from county historic preservation funds. The county receives approximately $1 million annually from a dedicated mill levy. These funds are also used for other programs, however, including open space, parks, fairgrounds, and similar programs.
The county's funding could pay for the engineering report, but would not likely cover the costs of preservation or stabilization if that is what the community desires. The county may be able to apply for technical assistance and funding from other sources, but no one knows whether or not these would cover all costs.
The San Miguel County Board of Commissioners fully understands the importance of the Pandora Mill to the region's history and wants to determine how the county can preserve this history. The board needs to hear from you immediately.
What role should the county take in preserving this history? Should the county authorize and pay for a structure assessment of the mill? Are there other county actions you would support?
Thank you for your time and interest.